Welcome to Looking Within, a podcast for the spiritual explorer in each of us. I'm Julie. I love to explore the inner life using contemplative practices, and I love to help others to do the same. In our time together, I hope you gain a sense of hope, meaning, joy, and love. Keep in mind, today I'll be speaking from my own perspective as a Christian spiritual explorer. If you resonate with another way of experiencing the divine, that's just fine. Feel free to use the spiritual perspective you are most comfortable with in our practice today. Now, let's begin. I often think about my dad, actually about both of my parents, for different reasons. They were both great people, great parents to my brother and me. My dad died 8 years ago, my mom 3 years ago. There was something about my dad, though, that has become more and more meaningful to me now as I continue on in the final third of my life. And it's that he always seemed to have a sense about him of wanting to continue to grow and change, to evolve as a person, and not just to pack it in and settle in for the last third of his life, never to learn anything new again. He went to the public library weekly after he retired, and he'd come home with an amazingly eclectic mix of books. Everything from bestseller fiction to nonfiction history or, and this is what captures my attention now, books about other spiritual traditions. It strikes me how unusual that was for an older adult in his generation to even entertain the thought that other traditions contain thoughts and some truth that would be of interest to him, or that might help shape him in some wonderful way by enriching his Christian roots. The theme for this episode is inner growth doesn't have to stop. As I mentioned earlier, I myself am in that time of life when one could begin to settle in and hunker down, especially when it comes to my inner self. It seems easier just to keep and maintain all of the opinions and beliefs and interior structures that took years to build, just living with those for the rest of my life, versus, like my dad, allowing and encouraging the thought that any of my long-held beliefs, opinions, and ways of doing things could be open to morphing and evolving. When I'm tempted to hunker down and put up barriers to new thoughts or ways of doing things, I think of my dad, a mentor in how to allow and even to encourage yourself to re-examine things, to change your mind about something, to see new truths and practices that are needed in order to continue to grow as a loving and compassionate human being. Like anything in life, what we pay attention to becomes even better. When we regularly and repeatedly put our hands and minds to something, it has the chance to become more developed, more of what or who it is meant to be. And I think this applies to our inner life as well. It's maybe especially pertinent to our inner life. It is, after all, our inner self that drives all of our words and actions, our motives and beliefs. It's our inner life that dictates the lens through which we see ourselves and the world around us. I think it's essential, critical even, to periodically take a thorough look at our inner selves. It's a skill we need to practice regularly. I know we all get what this means when it comes to things in our outer life. We get the idea of practicing and giving time to something so improvement can happen. You've no doubt had things in your life that you wanted to get better at, so you practiced. Maybe it was techniques or skills for a sport or a musical instrument. Maybe it was skills that you needed on the job to become more proficient in your work. Maybe it was a hobby at which you wanted to be more skilled. You knew and witnessed that good things happen when you put in the time to practice and to work with something. We seem to understand this more easily when it comes to outer life things. With our inner spiritual journey, we instead potentially reach a point where we feel like we've said the right words or believed the right things, and now we can just live out a very static spiritual existence and maybe be just fine with that. We might even miss the idea that inner lives can evolve, change, expand, and ripen in wonderful ways. I think we are meant for more than what we might realize, and frankly, The world desperately needs us to be more of who we're meant to be. Let's take a few minutes to give this some thought. In this quiet space and time, I'd invite you to gently close your eyes. I'll sound the Tibetan singing bowl, which will call you to look within. As you're listening to the bowl's reverberations, take 3 deep breaths. Then let your breathing return to normal whenever you'd like. Hear the sound of the bowl now. Let it center you. Let it remind you that God is here with you. Take a look at your life to this point. Are you growing as a spiritual person, as a human being who loves and includes others? Are the things that you read and view, or the conversations that you have, helping your heart and mind to be more open to evolving, and to maybe even changing your mind about something that you've thought was true for a very long time? Use these quiet moments to take stock of the atmosphere and activity of your inner life. I'll be back with you in about 3 minutes. I'd invite you now to take a few deep breaths, in and out. In and out. Let these breaths fill you with strength and energy. Hear me sound the Tibetan singing bowl, and as the sound of the bowl reverberates and slowly dies away, you can gently open your eyes, remaining still for a moment longer. We've pondered some important questions today. Am I growing? Am I changing? Is my spiritual journey expanding and deepening? Am I even open to the thought that I don't need to settle for the current version of me for the rest of my life? Wherever we are on the journey, may we grow more and more connected to God, to the divine. A deepening connection to the ground of being and the source of everything means that our inner growth does not have to stop, ever. Thank you for making time for your inner self today. Whatever you've discovered and experienced, carry that with you in the coming days. You can find more episodes at our website, gloria-dei, that's DEI.com/lookingwithinpodcast, or subscribe through your favorite podcast app. We'll see you next time.